Jeff Gabriel Connection.
Mark, Bryan, how are you today? Thank you for joining me.
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Good. I appreciate you being here and welcome to the Jeff Gabriel Connection. For those that are listening, Mark is a father, a husband, an engineer, a coach, and has a very atypical interest of from the waist down dressing in women's clothes, predominantly skirts and heels. And I find it to be fascinating, interesting, and welcome you here today. How are you?
Good.
Cool. Could you tell me a little bit about the journey? I've read a number of articles about you, seen some of your interviews, but could you tell me a little bit about the journey? I know that you started in, I believe you were dating a girl in college, which led to your interest in women's clothes, skirts, and heels. I'm very fascinated about what led to that.
We were both 6 foot tall.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was very tall, but she loved to wear high heels, and there's times when we're this is when I was in college, and we were living together, so we both had to work. We both had to go to classes, and in the evenings it was just kind of time to unwind and just kind of relax a little bit. And so before usually we went to bed, we'd put on like a Lionel Richie or a Commodore's album,
right,
and slow dance. But she liked to put her heels on because she loved to dance in her high heels, and it just got to be where she was 4 inches taller than I was, and
right.
And she goes, well, I love what you're just gonna have to wear my heels. And so it's her idea for me to wear the heels, and I go, oh, okay. We're alone. No one's gonna really notice anything. So,
Mm-hmm.
And I felt very natural on them. So I mean, it was like I wasn't challenged by them. So, and I think that's just because I grew up as an I was athletic at that time. Still am athletic.
Right.
And I really had no problems with it. And so then maybe about 5 years ago, I just saw a woman that, just said, I want to do that. She was wearing a pair of high heels, and it really wasn't the sexiness about it. It was the way that she carried herself and the confidence that she had. And I said, that's what I want to feel and stuff, and I think I can do it. And so I went and bought another pair of high heels, and started wearing them, and then basically I had to go buy some more high heels. They're a little bit lower because my plan was to just start wearing them to work, with my pants and everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then I did that for maybe a half a year, 8 months or something like that, and the joke got around. I started wearing a little bit higher and higher and higher heel and stuff, and then the joke got around. Well, one of these days, Mark's going to show up to work and wearing a dress or a skirt or something. So, and that was kind of like the joke around the office and everything. So, so when I eventually did wear the skirt, I don't think people, the guys at work, they weren't too shocked. So I kind of eased them into the introduction of Mark Bryan wearing a skirt and high heels,
Right.
even though that really wasn't my plan.
Right. When you started that, is that something that just became? Did you gradually flow into it and more and more and more, or you were just right into it and you were going to work and you from that point
No,
on?
I mean, I bought a pair of 4-inch heels. The first pair of heels I bought 5 years ago, maybe it's almost 6 years now, and and they were a pair of 4-inch stilettos because I really liked the way that the stilettos look and stuff. But those were something I didn't feel very comfortable wearing, just right off, just wear them, show up to work all of a sudden wearing that. So, I bought like it's kind of like looked like a men's shoe from the front, but it has like a little 3-inch block heel on the back. It had laces in the front and everything. And, from the front with the pants on, you really couldn't tell unless you got behind me or beside me. Then you can see that it had a heel and stuff. And that's kind of how I introduced everyone at work, that I was going to start wearing high heels and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I kind of gradually went into it. And then when the joke started getting, passed around the office that, hey, one day,
Right.
He's going to show up wearing a skirt or a dress. And I go, that's not a bad idea. And,
Right.
and so that's how I went. So it wasn't like just all of a sudden it kind of evolved into that. and it really
And then it
wasn't a
went,
plan or anything. So
and then it went from the shoes to the skirts, right? That was the
yeah,
next step.
yeah. I mean, during the summer, uh, Germany doesn't have a whole lot of air conditioning, so it gets pretty warm inside the buildings and everything. And I thought about wearing a pair of shorts, and I go, nah, I'll just wear the skirt because people are joking about it anyway. So
Mhm. Well, listen, I really think you're brave. I think it's awesome. I've seen your pictures. You look great, but this really is not such a new idea, and it is a new idea in our culture. But I was reading some of the articles about you, and I think that you brought it up that the 14th century, 15th century, men started showing their legs first before women, which turned into tights, which eventually turned into trousers. So this might be a reinvention. I mean, not to belittle what you're doing, but this is something that's gone on in the past, correct?
probably some articles, the writers usually add that little verbiage, and I usually don't quote it or something, but yeah, I mean it's true. I mean the high heels were basically developed for the Persian horseback riders, kind of helped them. The heel kind of kept them in their stirrups and stuff,
Right.
and then I think even like in the 17th century or 16th century, the upper class men wore high heels, and that was kind of a sign of being part of the upper class, was being able to wear high heels.
Right.
And then, as you said, they started wearing tights, and eventually led to pants and everything. So, yeah. So I mean, things go around, full circle and stuff. I can remember when I was in high school, or actually it was junior high. That's when the band Kiss was big, and
Yeah. Right.
Gene Simmons in his 6-inch platform shoes. Uh, I actually wore a pair of high heel platforms, even in junior high, and that was a trend. And of course, you wore it with big baggy pants and stuff. But
You talk
so
about androgynous, with Kiss back then, and you had all these young teenage boys that were excited to go see Kiss and see guys with makeup on and wearing red lipstick. So, this conversation surrounding gender, what's appropriate or not, or what's right or left, it's in some instances was going on well before you started wearing the shoes and the heels. A lot of these
oh
things.
yeah, I mean it's yeah, I mean I've only been doing it for 5 years, but it's been going on. I mean, it's probably been going on for forever.
Right.
It's just that certain societies and stuff have their labels that they everybody always wants to categorize something. They want to put things in a box, and
Right.
that way they feel safe in things. But some things just don't fit into a box. There are certain people that have to have things categorized and labeled and stuff like that, and certain people like me that really don't care for labels and stuff.
Mm.
Um, but I think that's more society. The people, they just have to have something. Oh well, this belongs with this, or this. Like, oh, these people must be gay. These people must, they're black, or they must be Muslim, or
Right.
everyone has to put like a label on it instead of just being people just being people and stuff. Um, which is really a shame, because
Yeah.
people get limited by that, and people feel limited by that, because a lot of people are afraid to step out of the box because they're afraid of being criticized or something like that.
Hmm.
So what I'm doing, I'm definitely stepping out of the box. I'm an engineer. I'm a football coach, which is fairly masculine type positions. But what I'm doing, I really don't feel what I'm doing is feminine at all. It's just
Right.
basically a way of expressing a fashion sense. It doesn't say that, nothing says that, a skirt or high heels has to be feminine. It's just what people have put this skirt and high heels in the feminine box. And, some of these things need to be taken out of the box.
No, I think you definitely have. And what's really interesting is that you have 600,000 and growing followers on Instagram. So that says a lot of people identify with you. And I think that this generation, all these changes are going on right now, and people are experimenting and feeling much more comfortable with presenting and identifying and exploring. And I think a lot of these people probably identify with you. I have a good friend of mine whose child is gender fluid, and I know there's a lot of people that are, I would say, either expressing or exploring themselves right now. So it's interesting what you're doing.
I strictly identify myself as your typical male, masculine type thing. So, I still believe, that, men should be the provider and the protector and stuff like that. Of course, also, women, I know there are certain women that are just as strong as I am and can do the exact same thing that I can do. And I know some, I coach American football. We also have a women's football team.
Wow.
And I know some very strong ladies that, that's probably a lot stronger than I am. So I mean, it's just, again, people trying to put things into a box and stuff.
So you have a lot of men and a lot of followers?
A lot of followers, but I also have a lot of men that, are grateful that I've given them the courage and stuff to kind of overcome their fears and do what they feel comfortable doing, that they've always had to fear. But I also have a lot of women too. I mean, that want to wear men's clothes, but they've always been afraid of being labeled a lesbian or something like that. They want to wear their hair short. They want to, but they're just afraid. And I think what I'm doing, I'm helping a lot of people just get over their fears of just being who they want to be,
right.
And stuff like that. So I kind of feel like I've got, I'm turning into more of a role model for a lot of people. And it's not just the skirts and high heels. It's more about just having the courage to do what you want to do and be yourself and being able to express yourself however you want to do it.
I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. And I could see that a lot of people would see you as a role model. I mean, I was really interested to talk to you, especially as you said that you're a football coach and you're an engineer. And then, some of the reactions that, some of your players, I mean, is there any sort of dialogue that goes on between you and the young men that you coach and how they perceive it? Does it help them in some way? How does it affect them?
Well, I had one player that, said, the kids always gave him a hard time. And I said, what's the deal? Why you let them do that to you? So, well, I'm, coach, I'm different. I don't think like these, the other guys do and stuff like that. And it didn't really dawn on me what he was saying until I got home that afternoon. I started thinking about it. I said, now I know. So, I approached the captains on the football team and said, hey, listen, give the guy a break. That's just the way he is. That's, and if I hear any more about it, you guys are going to be rethinking about who's captain anymore. So, so you better get the whole team under control and stuff, or I'll be making changes and stuff like that. So, and he ended up becoming one of my better players because he was more, the team accepted him. They worked with him. They didn't exclude him like they were before and stuff like that. And that says a lot about the youth. If you tell them how, that's wrong and stuff like that, the youth listen to you. I mean,
yeah,
a lot, out of the 600,000 followers I have, 18% of them are between the ages of 17 and 24. So it's a very young audience that I have. So, right.
No, I think it's great, and I could see how you are, and I think you are a role model. And I think that some of this exploration and some of the ways that people are exploring this is a way of showing that we're, when it comes to men and women, a lot more similar than different in many, many ways. And I think what you're doing brings that out and breeds that in people. And my next question that I wanted to ask you was, when you first started doing this, especially which led up to you being public with this, is that, did you need to work out anything in your mind about it? Mark, why am I wearing shoes and skirts? Were you confused with that? Or did you be like, this is it, this is good, I love it, no problems?
I basically, I'm engineer and I've been in the office environment. So I've spent the last 35 years in a suit and tie.
Yeah.
So, men's suits, they're pretty boring. You either have black or gray or navy or, maybe a light gray or a brown. And, not a whole lot of styling to it or anything. And then you basically just had brown and black shoes. The only color you got to really add to it was your tie. And even then you had to be fairly conservative on the ties and stuff. So, it got to where I was just really hating to get up in the mornings and get dressed because I was just so bored, having to put on the same suit and stuff like that. And the women at the office, they're wearing bright colored shoes and they're wearing, clothes and dresses, or skirts and dresses, that have patterns to them or prints or things like that and brighter colors and stuff like that. And I said, that looks good. And then then when I made the decision to wear high heels, I go, this is an avenue for me to, have something to look forward to every morning when I get dressed in the morning.
Right.
So yeah, it was more of just a fashion change and stuff like that. It wasn't something that, that I said, or why am I doing it or anything. It was more just a fashion choice. And also it's kind of a rebellion against the casual dress code that everyone's adapting now.
Right.
And, women quit wearing skirts and stuff because, they were afraid of being labeled as sexy or something like that, or just because they wear a skirt, that means they're available and things like that. So
Right.
A lot of women, my wife said she quit wearing skirts, years ago because men would come on to her because she's wearing a skirt and they think, hey, it's open city here. So, and that it's terrible that a lot of men. I've never really thought that way or anything like that. It looks good, but I really never thought, okay, she's just asking, or just it's okay to have sex with her because she's wearing a skirt or something. So,
Right.
And just more of a rebellion against the dress code and stuff like that. When people start wearing jeans with the holes and stuff like this, and it's considered trendy. And then the next thing they're wearing sweatpants to the office and t-shirts. I go, this is just crazy. I don't think they meant casual dress being, something that you wear on a Saturday afternoon, sitting around the house or something. So, so it's kind of rebellion against men's fashion being just so boring, and then also about the being able to step up my game and overdress a little bit more. And that involves wearing a skirt and high heels just because that's something I want to do. So,
yeah. Well, it's awesome. I mean, you're totally, breaking the rules down. And I asked a couple of people that, are interested in fashion. My mother she was a fashion designer. So I asked her about it. I said, what do you think? I'm going to interview Mark this afternoon. And she said the same thing. She said, men don't really have a lot of choices. So he's creating a lot of different choices. And then I asked my wife, I'm like, what do you think about Mark? And I showed some of the Instagram pictures. She said, well, Mark has really good legs. So I said, okay, I got two really good positive things to talk about. You've also sort of created quite a stir with some fashion icons. I mean, you really raised some eyebrows. People are really interested in you and got you in some of the magazines, but some people have reached out to you that are well known in the fashion industry. Is that correct?
Yeah, probably a lot of the big brands and stuff have reached out, especially some of the bigger shoe brands and stuff. They want me to model their shoes and stuff. Some of the designers and stuff, I think like Marc Jacobs, they're in New York. Him and I we spoke quite a bit back and forth. He hasn't really sent me anything to wear. I mean, we're still talking about me coming to New York and doing a shoot with him or something, sometime soon. But I mean, we make comments on each other's photos and stuff like that and stuff like that. And, I mean, I've had some, people reach out to me and things like that. So.
Do you have an agent, or is it all, you do it all yourself? You handle all your bookings?
I got more of a management team that's, trying to, I really wouldn't say they're an agent. I guess they could be an agent or something. I'm still trying to learn the terminology behind all this, exactly what agents are supposed to be doing, what managements are supposed to be doing. But yeah, I got a management team that is supposed to be taking some of the load off of me because, my Instagram account, I probably spend, 2 to 3 hours a day on it.
Wow.
I've been trying to, organize photos and, photo shoots and stuff like that, and still try to work a 40, 50-hour work week with my engineering job.
What kind of engineer are you?
I'm a robotic packaging engineer. Basically, I take the customer's information. He wants to put this in a box, and he wants to put this box in a case, and he wants to put this case on a pallet. And I basically design, how many per minute, how many cases, how many pieces per minute, how many boxes per minute, how many cartons per minute, what kind of tray is it, if it's a box or carton, or do we erect the carton, do we denest the plastic trays, all those kind of things. And I just choose the right robot and the number of robots that we need, based off of cycle times and stuff like that.
So you help automate and process and automate someone's business going to more like an analog digital in the sense of how they package things.
Yeah, I mean, robots are never, people say, oh, robots going to take place of man and take all the jobs away. But, we're really doing things that the robots basically just do things that are so repetitive that it's really, mind numbing for most people and stuff like that. And we're not really taking jobs away. We're basically creating jobs because you still have to have programmers. You still have people that work on the robots. You still have to have, service like this. It's a little bit more, it develops a little bit more education, a little bit more experience and stuff that other than just, picking something up, putting it into a box. So yeah, I mean, the level is higher. But it is creating more jobs and stuff, it's just at a higher level and stuff. So, the robotic industry is basically just to get rid of people, or get rid of the mundane type jobs that, just repetition.
Right.
Which leads to, people with bad backs or carpal tunnel or bad elbows and something because they're doing the same movement every day, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. So, but that's cool. A 40, 50-hour work week for me.
On top of all that, has the engineering, I know engineers, doctors have a very, very typical mindset, very organized, very functional, the way that you approach things. Do you use your engineering background to approach your new fashion career, or how you organize your clothes, or how you wear them, or how you match colors or heels? Is there any sort of math involved in that, or?
No, it has really nothing to do with it. In fact, that's really the most fascinating thing about this whole journey I'm on. As you mentioned, being engineering or manufacturing, we all, the engineers and stuff, we all approach life in a different way. We always think about, what we're doing now, how that impacts the future, and how long is it going to last, and how we're trying to help people and stuff. Since I've been introduced to the fashion industry, I've met a lot of stylists. I've met a lot of fashion designers, photographers that do fashion and stuff. The fashion, they just live the moment. They don't care about the past fashion. They don't really care about the future fashion. They live everything in the moment, and that's the way they live through their life. They live every day. Every day is a new day for them. Whereas the engineering people and stuff, we're always planning ahead. We got everything set, how things are going to happen in the next,
20 years,
2 or 3 years and stuff.
Yep.
So we basically have everything planned, and they really have no plan, and yet they survive and stuff. And that's the most fascinating thing, is that I've never been around these people, and now I'm around them almost all the time now, and it's a very eye-opening experience. It's like two complete different cultures, or two different worlds, basically.
So it's a little Buddhist in a sense, or present in the moment when it comes to the fashion. I mean, you can say it's a little bit of a Buddhist philosophy without them recognizing that it's a Buddhist philosophy, not looking into the future or the past. And you saying that's kind of cool for you, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, just because I've never been really exposed to that, I've kind of been in my, engineering box, and really haven't looked outside the box you that much. But I find it very fascinating. And for me, I'm pretty close to retiring. I'm 62 years old. I've and now it's kind of actually given me a little bit, not only just a fashion thing, with what I'm wearing and stuff has given me more life and more enthusiasm to get up in the mornings and get dressed. But just the fashion industry and meeting all these wonderful, talented new people and stuff, it's given me something to even look forward to, and not just sitting at home after I retire,
Right.
spending a life on a golf course or something. So.
Yeah. Well, listen, the only way to keep growing, as you know, is to change and to challenge yourself. And obviously you've challenged yourself through this to do this, and probably wasn't an easy thing to do. In your mind, when you decided that you wanted to get this out there and you wanted to start putting this on Instagram, tell me a little bit about the process. Like, what were you thinking about? Like, I'm doing this now. I've been doing this for a while. I love doing it. I want to share this with people. Is that what happened? I didn't just the light bulb.
Basically, I started my Instagram account just to kind of document what I was wearing. The nerdy engineer in me, I just want to document so I didn't repeat myself and have a pattern or something like that. And of course, I had some friends and stuff, and then friends suggested, hey, you need to follow Mark and stuff like that. So probably mid-September. Last year, I probably only had like 300 followers.
Wow.
And then some of these people took my pictures and posted them somewhere like on Facebook or something. Wow. And then they kind of went viral and stuff.
Right.
And the next thing I'm getting like, hundreds of requests, on a daily basis. And I'm going, what the heck has happened? And my daughter is one that said, Mark, or said, Dad, you're on Facebook. And you're going viral. I go, really? Wow. That explains why everyone's, and it really got to a point where I had to go, public with my account because I just couldn't keep up with all the requests. And probably within a month time, I was like at 100,000. So I went from like 300 to 100,000, within a month.
What's the breakdown? Is it more women? Is it more men? Is it equal? Is it?
No, 80% of my followers are women.
Okay. 20%.
Yeah. So and in that 80%, or well, in the 100%, the age groups are from the biggest group is like 35% is like from 25 to 35 years old,
mm-hmm.
and then the next biggest group is from like 15 to 24 or something like that. So it's a very young crowd, that's following me. And I think that just says something about the younger generation, that they're just a little bit more open-minded and stuff.
Yeah, I think the walls of gender are falling in that generation, and we talked a little bit about earlier. I think that look, you're not an old guy, but you're not a young guy. You're 61 years old. I think they're saying, "Wow, look at this man doing this. He's a real role model, and he makes me feel good, and I want to follow him." I mean, when I look at your pictures, I was like, you know what, this is really cool. Like, he's a man from U.S. moving to Germany who's an engineer and a football coach and a father, dressing like this. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's wild. I think it's really interesting. And so,
well, I think what makes me unique, I'm not the first guy on the internet to wear a skirt and high heels.
right.
There's been a lot of others. In fact, I get, I do get some people that dislike that I'm getting recognized for what I'm doing, when there's been, a lot of gays and stuff that have done the same thing, but they never got the recognition, for doing what they're doing. And, my answer to that is, hey, I can't help it. Maybe they like me because I'm not gay. Maybe that's what makes me different and unique. But, to kind of get back to your question before, how did I get started? How did I approach all this? I really just didn't care what people thought. I think the older you get, the less you care about, what people think of what you're doing or how they're going to react and stuff. My only concern was, how my family and close friends would react. I didn't even care about just friends. It was more just my close friends and my family, and how what I did, how that would impact their lives and stuff. And then I just thought about it. I said, really close friends, they're going to support you, and family's going to support you. So I don't care what that guy, if I'm walking to an airport, I don't care what that guy, that sees me, because I'll never see this guy again. Why do I care what he thinks? Either he likes me or he doesn't. And if he doesn't like me, why should I lose sleep over it or worry about it or shy away from, having fun and expressing myself and just being myself? Why should I worry what complete strangers think that I'll never meet again?
And what's really interesting about that is whether you want to wear, a skirt, or you want to wear high heels as a man, or you want to start some other business, or you want to try something as a young person, I would think the number one biggest obstacle for people is in someone's mind, what do people think of me? So you don't even have to relate to you in a sense of whether it's the heels or the skirts. People can just relate to you that you're doing something that you feel good about, and you're reaching out and you're presenting it to the world, and you're not caring. And right there's a great example. So for people that are listen to this and hear this, and young people, I mean, it's a good example for anyone. You just take the skirt and the heels out of it and just look at what you're doing for yourself and you, and believing in what you're doing. I think that right there is a wonderful, topic and aspect of the discussion and what you do. And I think, you can separate, the clothes as part of it, because I think that's why a lot of people are relating to you. And I actually related to you. And as I've gotten a little bit older, I care less about what people think. We want to care. We want to be polite. We want to be, we want to fit in. But at the same time, when you don't care, you can do the things that you want to be passionate and still be a good citizen. And I think that's what you do.
Well, I do consider myself very considerate of others and stuff like that,
Sure.
And so, I'm very courteous, even if someone comes up and, says something, rude or something to me, I say, hey, thank you for your comment. You're entitled to your opinion and stuff. I'm not going to try to get into an argument with anyone, saying that, you're wrong or I'm right or anything like that. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and if they want to voice their opinion, that's fine. I'm basically, voicing, what I want to express. And if they want to express what they want to express, they're more than welcome to. And I don't get offended or anything like that. So.
Well, you seem like a very level-headed, smart, and calm person. So I just can't see you getting rude to anyone who's asking you a question or has any problem, or even if they're negative towards you. I think you would just probably your demeanor strikes me as someone who would just do your own thing and just keep about your business.
Yeah. The only time I lose my temper is around referees, football games.
Exactly. Tell me about your family and the reaction to your newfound celebrity. I mean, and the number.
I got two daughters and a son. My youngest daughter is probably my biggest fan. I mean, she looks at everyone that follows me. She checks them out and stuff like that. She's the one that told me, hey, Rihanna's following you.
Oh, wow.
I know who Rihanna is, but I didn't really recognize, because, when you get so many, you just kind of lose track of who's following you. And I really don't look at it. I just kind of look at the number and stuff. But, she's the one that kind of goes through my followers and say, hey, Dad, so-and-so's following you, or so-and-so's following you, And so, I mean, she's probably my biggest fan. And,
that's great.
She's probably like this. My oldest daughter, she's, every time she goes, Dad, I'm glad you're coming. I hope you come, for Christmas. This was before I actually had plans to come. And, and when you're here, we got to take some photos and stuff like that. Because I really haven't been back, due to COVID, since my popularity and stuff like that. So this likes to be the first time I've been back to the States. I did wear skirts before, but I wasn't as popular as I am now. So, I think it's going to be a little bit different. In Europe, I think people are a little bit more tolerant of what you do, just because we have so many different cultures, live in such close proximity with each other and stuff. I know it's going to be a lot. I know it's going to be different in the States, because, unfortunately, the States is still very segregated and stuff like that. there's certain areas of certain neighborhoods I know I can go into, and there's probably certain neighborhoods that I don't go into, and that's regardless of what you're wearing. So,
Well, listen, if you come to New York, I'd love to meet you. And I think if you just stroll down the center of Manhattan and Fifth Avenue, I think you'll be a big hit and you'll be widely.
I really have no problem, those kind of areas and stuff like that in New York or something. But there's other parts of New York you wouldn't want to even get close to. So
it's really been very, very pleasant to talk to you. I've actually learned a lot. I think it's really cool that your family supports you. And I think it's really nice and wonderful to hear that it's created this nice bond and flow between you and your daughter. I mean, that's really a nice thing and really cool. And
yeah, well, all of my kids, are very supportive. They understand that, what I wear doesn't change who I am. I'm still the same father. I'm still the same husband. I'm still the same person. I don't feel any different if I put on a pair of pants or if I put on a skirt.
Right.
It doesn't change who I am. To me, it's just cloth. Just cloth,
Right.
and the leather shoes are a little designed a little bit different.
Right.
But and as I said, earlier, my close friends, they know I'm still the same person. The guys at work, they still know I'm the same person. My family knows I'm still the same person. So, what I'm doing, really hasn't changed me at all. In fact, it's actually given me a little bit more confidence and stuff, to approach other things, in my life and everything.
And that's probably the biggest lesson for those that are listening. And that's probably the biggest aspect of you being a role model and your Instagram followers is that no matter what you do, what your interests are, you're still the same person. And I think that's what you're conveying right now. And I think that's what I'm getting out of this discussion is that you are who you are, no matter some of these different types of things or passions that people have. And that's really cool. And I'm really glad that we got to explore it. If people wanted to get in touch with you, I'm sure it's pretty easy through Instagram or you have a website. I think at this point, you probably have such a barrage of people trying to connect with you that it's never an issue for you to connect with who you have to. But if someone did, or a young person did want to reach out to you, what would be the best way for them to contact you? Maybe with some advice.
Basically, right now, that is like just a direct message on Instagram. As I said earlier, I probably spend 2 to 3 hours a day on Instagram, and that's because I want to, I try to look at every message that I get. Every message, I probably get 100 to 150 messages a day. But I do go through every one of them. There's a lot of them I don't answer, but a lot of them I do reply to.
I got to tell you that, I didn't expect this, and it was such a pleasure to talk to you. I really learned a lot. I'm really impressed by you, and I really appreciate you taking your time. I think you're very brave to be who you want to be, and that's you. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.